Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a wrap up of all the books I read in the fall. So that is going to be the months of August, September, and October. You might have noticed for like the past year, I think, I haven't been doing any wrap-ups because I generally dread doing them because I read anywhere from like 15 to 30 books in a month. So doing monthly wrap-ups was just very overwhelming for me. And also, I pretty much talk about every single book that I've read in other videos. It just always felt super repetitive to talk about the books again in a wrap-up. But I do know that you guys really like wrap-ups and people have been requesting me to do them again. And also there are occasionally times when a book will fall through the cracks because I'll read it in between filming videos and it never fits into a video, so I'll just never talk about that book. So I decided to start doing seasonal wrap-ups. For every 3 months, I will do like a brief overview of all the books that I read and then go into more details on my top 5 for that season. So we'll start with a couple stats. I read a total of 35 books over the fall months. Out of that 35, 5 of them were 5 stars, 17 of them were 4 stars, 10 were 3 stars, there were 2 stars, and 1 star. I think I mentioned this in my end of year book tag, but I've had a very kind of average reading year in that the majority of things that I've read have been 4 stars and there haven't been a lot of standouts. But the fall season probably had some of my favorites that I've read this year. Like I said, there were 5 stars. Those aren't necessarily the 5 that I'm going to be talking about because a lot of times just because I rate something 5 stars doesn't necessarily mean it's my favorite. A lot of my favorite books I rated 4 stars. 12 of the books were young adult and 23 were adult. Not surprising since the past couple years I've been generally reading more adult books, especially considering I read so much romance. So now I'm going to go into an overview of everything that I read. I'm going to show you what they were and tell you what I rated them. I'm not going to go into like detail about them because like I said, I pretty much have talked about all of these books in detail in other videos. So let's just move into that. get into my top 5 books that I read. So we'll start with The Monster of Elendhaven. This is a dark fantasy novella that takes place in this world that is kind of like Jack the Ripper London-esque. And it's a story of revenge. The two main characters, one of them is a monster. He is unable to die. He has immortality. If he gets injured, he heals. The other main character is a sorcerer, and they team up for a quest of revenge. This is also a male-male romance, and I just really loved this. It had everything that I want from a story. It was dark, it was gory, it was also really funny, and I really liked the relationship between the two main characters. I'm definitely excited to read whatever else this author puts out after this. The next one is The Wallflower Wager by Tessa Dare. This has quickly become my new favorite Tessa Dare book. If you don't know, Tessa Dare is one of my favorite romance authors, if not one of my favorite authors ever. I think I've read all of her books, and this one is now my favorite. It is the third in the Girl Meets Duke series, but you can read them in any order. This follows Lady Penelope. She really keeps to herself, and she wants nothing to do with like the normal societal conventions of women these days. And she also is a huge animal lover. She likes to rescue animals, and she has all these really wild animals living with her, like an otter, a goat, a parrot, a bunch of cats. They're the most important thing to her. The book is about her and a dispute with her neighbor. Her neighbor is this really grouchy duke who is trying to sell his house, but everyone that comes to look at the house is very deterred from buying it because of all the crazy animals that live next door. So her and her duke neighbor come up with a deal, or a wager, in that he will help find good homes for her pets, and everything will be well. It's very much like a Hufflepuff Slytherin romance, which I loved so much. And Penny is definitely my favorite Tessa Dare main character. She was just like, she just had such a big heart, and she was so fun, and she also didn't put up with anyone's shit. I really love this. It was a lot of fun. The next 3 all have something in common, and that is that they are queer horror books. And over the past year, I've come to discover that queer horror is my all-time favorite genre. I've yet to read one that I didn't absolutely love. They usually become my favorite books. Like, my favorite book last year was Strange Grace. Now these 3 books are definitely making their way up there as my favorite. If you watched my Spookathon vlogs, one of these will come as no surprise, and that is The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. This is a sci-fi horror, but it's very light on these sci-fi elements. It is much more of a character development book. This follows a woman named Greer who is a cave mining diver. She gets this job to go off planet and mine in these caves. And so she gets down there in the caves, and the only person that she's communicating with is her handler via an earpiece, and she quickly discovers that she was very much lied to and deceived about the nature of this mission, and it becomes much more dangerous, and her handler is very sketchy and lying to her and keeping things from her, and I just really, really loved it. It's also very subtle in the horror elements, but I think what makes it so terrifying is the setting is just so claustrophobic. I really, really loved this. I thought it was so well done, and it is also like a female romance. Kind of. This was Caitlin Starling's debut book, so I'm definitely excited to read her next one, which was already announced, and it sounds so good. The next one is The Girl in Red by Christina Henry, and this is a post-apocalyptic Little Red Riding Hood retelling. It follows a girl named Red who is trying to survive in this post-apocalyptic world. There was a virus that went around. Parts of this really reminded me of The Walking Dead, which used to be one of my favorite shows in like the early seasons, because there are like zombie-esque creatures in this book, but it's the humans that are the most dangerous. The people that she encounters on her travels, they're the ones that are the most dangerous, and I feel like that was a really big theme throughout The Walking Dead. And I just really love post-apocalyptic stories because I love seeing what happens to like the human psyche after society has completely collapsed. I think it's really fascinating to see the ways that different people react and respond to a post-apocalyptic type of setting. I really, really loved Red as a main character. I feel like of any book I've ever read, I related to her the most. Every decision that she made and thought that she had was exactly how I would react and think in situations. She was the type of person who was very prepared for this post-apocalyptic situation. She was willing to do what it took to survive, and I love that quality in characters. There's no romance in this, but Red is queer. I really, really love this, and I have a couple other books that I bought from this author that I cannot wait to read. So the last book that I'm going to talk about is Rules for Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall. This is kind of hard to explain because it is super weird, but basically in this town there is this old like folklore about this road in the woods and this girl named Lucy who got lost on the road and was never found. Supposedly the road opens once a year and anyone who travels on it goes missing. And so the main character, a year ago, her sister was one of those people who supposedly went missing on the road. And so now she has gathered a group of her closest friends and they are going into the woods at that one time a year that the road supposedly opens so that they can go onto it and find the sister. The road is almost its own character, it's its own entity. There's all these rules, and if you break the rules, the road gets mad. There's all these gates, and the gates are almost like checkpoints. Every single gate kind of has a different trap or something that the road has made to get you to fail and to get you to not make it to the end. It was really, really weird, like so weird. And some of the things that happened, I was like, how does somebody even come up with this? It was also told in kind of like a case file type of situation. There's like interviews after the fact from like the police and videos and photos and things like that. I really, really loved this book. There's also a female-female relationship with the main character and another character. The romance doesn't play like a huge part of the book, which I liked, but it is there and I really enjoyed it. Also, it took me forever to realize that this right here is a person. Like, it's not just a forest, it's a person. Like, I don't know if you can see, like, here's her hair and her arms and her body. Like, I did not see that at first, and now I'm like, whoa. So those were all of the books that I read during the fall months. Let me know if you guys like the format of this wrap up and if you would like me to continue doing them. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!